Hello, good evening, and thank you for joining me in the 5 ways to keep your peace as a parent. I want to start off by saying thank you, but really giving you the opportunity to thank yourself for showing up to something that is potentially really different. And a new way of looking at things is always a little bit scary, and we have our reservations, but this is a time to get a deeper connection with ourselves, to get out of our mind and into our heart and really land there and be able to come back to that place over and over and over again. When I realized that the frustration that I was having as a parent had very little to do with my daughter's behavior and had everything to do with how I reacted, I knew that in order to get to the root of solving this reactivity problem, or behavioral problem, or like my own behavioral problem, or the emotional regulation problem, I had to do things that I hadn't done before. So on that note, I will share my screen. And give me a moment. Let's go to the slides. So again, welcome. And I want to just start by saying, and kind of getting an idea of where you're at right now. Let me pause that. Get back here. Okay, so one thing that I notice is that as parents, transitions can be really difficult, whether you have one kid or 4 children. This is going to be a troubling time for all that are involved. Okay, so I wanted to paint the picture. Your morning routine, sometimes it does look different. We're swinging back into school schedule. So there's school, schedule, there's activities, there's work schedules, there's things that hopefully don't overlap, but seem like they do because it's just one after the other. And do your mornings look like this? Do they feel like there's constant chaos, like you're rushing around? You're feeling like you're saying things over and over again, and this is for children that are capable of understanding your language. So I would say above sometimes 18 months or so. So 2 years all the way through grade school age. And are they hearing you? Most likely, but sometimes it's not a matter of getting your point across through a mellow tone, right? So we resort to, after so many tries at keeping our cool, the only reaction that we want to get out of them, which is taking action and taking those steps forward to getting out the door, is by demanding and yelling and raising our tone so that there is a reaction from our child, the reaction that we want. But today is showing you something different, and having these discussions is, well, number one, it's important for me to show you what is possible through these strategies that I've used. But it's also about you and understanding and getting really clear about where this comes from, where these expectation, ideals, standards have been set, and asking yourself, well, what are you willing to continue to accept, and what are you not willing to accept anymore? So would you like your mornings or your routine or your transitions to look like this? That I don't want to say it's just perfectly and orderly, because perfectionism is one of those things that can keep us feeling like we need to have control and are very tight and rigid. And this comes into another story that I'll talk about. But that there's this pleasantness in the air, that there's this ease and peace amongst all parties that are involved in these transitions. And there always can be pushback. But what today's focus is bringing you back to is the control that you have to manage your reactions and your behaviors, your words, and your thought process. Because even though something might come through your thoughts, and it will, an immediate kind of knee-jerk reaction, you can pause in that moment and decide something different by reframing, by being the observer. And we'll go through this, but know that you always have the power of choice of how you want to react. And we'll talk about how you can go through those steps. These steps, I will say, are, there's length to them. They're big. As the big picture, they are big and they're very meaningful. But don't think that you have to do all of them at once. You can focus on one thing, and there's an order, specific order to these that you can follow. You can start with the first one, and then you can go to the second one. And the more you develop that and your focus on those, the more you develop yourself, your patience, and your general practice. So this is all about developing a practice, showing up for yourself, and in ways that you haven't done before, or maybe you've never known before, okay? So let's get settled into why you're here, okay? And so you may be feeling one or some or all of the following. And if you're feeling all of the following, that is okay. It's the bigger reason of why you're here, why you were called to be here, to listen, to understand, to get clear, and to discover how you can keep your peace, right? So number one is you're feeling overwhelmed. Your plate is so full, the schedule is stacked. Like I said, there's like no wiggle room for things to go wrong, or things to have, for some mistakes to be made, for, for you to hit 5 red lights instead of 2 red lights. Are you okay? There's a bag. And there's a drink. Please go. Okay. Thanks. So you're feeling overwhelmed. You're feeling overwhelmed, and this overwhelm consumes you. The overwhelm can be filled with concern and worry and doubt and feelings of shame and embarrassment and disappointment that you're not keeping up with the pressures. So you feel this burden or pressure of everyday life to keep up with it all. And maybe you're feeling this level of frustration of not doing things well, comparing yourselves to other families, whether they're similar size or just in the same community, or you're not doing enough, you're not keeping up with enough, you don't have your kids in enough activities, you don't have the right toys or the right, you're not using the right educational tools, so there's a lot of comparison and judgment in that. The fourth being, and again, this list can go on, but I'm naming probably the most predominant reasons of why you are here, to get to the bottom of, losing your cool, having a temper, being overly reactive. And one of the things is you don't know who you are anymore. So recognizing these parts of yourself that come up in a high stress environment where you had the best of intentions of keeping your cool, right? No one wants to lose their shit on their kids. No one wants to have these screaming fests with their partners. And this part of you comes out, and you barely recognize it because it doesn't feel like yourself. This aggressive tone, the anger, the frustration, the outbursts, they don't feel like you, okay? And then part of that is being disconnected from yourself. You don't know who you are anymore, and you don't know what you enjoy. You've lost passions. Maybe you've lost interest in hobbies, and yeah, you just don't know who you are anymore. Another reason you may be here is because you don't feel motivated or committed to taking care of yourself. So I said in the beginning, this is the intention of today is to bring your self-care and how you take care of yourself to a whole new level. Okay, inviting something new and different that you may have not thought of before or had some resistance to. And that resistance sometimes can be coming from feeling bad or guilty about putting yourself first. And there's a story behind that, and we will get into that. That's a little bit about me and my story. I think I forgot to introduce myself in the beginning. If you don't know me and you haven't been following me, and you came here because of you saw it in a mother's group. My name is Juliana Lindner. I am a self-empowerment coach, a confidence coach, intuitive mentor, emotional freedom technique tapping practitioner. I can name off a bunch of titles, but what's important is I am rediscovering who I am and living every day to my best ability in my most authentic version of me. And that is something that is always changing. Okay, it's not something that is permanent, and it is something that I'm constantly evolving with. My business itself, All in Harmony, first started as a title and even focus that was totally different. 1013 Fitness and Wellness was my original business, and it came from this idea that I was going to incorporate both fitness and my love for athleticism and movement and wellness, behavior change, all of that. And what came from my journey was just me evolving as a person. So as I evolved as a person, so did my business. And they have constantly been carrying with each other. And so why I'm here today, I think, is the most important. And I wrote a bunch of things out. I think I could say this story in several different ways. But this picture depicts the moment that I made a decision. And it's often the moment where you make your decision, the moment maybe why you even came today is, and it could be a little bit of an exaggeration because this is an atomic bomb and the whole area is exploding, but really I had hit my second rock bottom. And what I felt after coming from that rock bottom was everything in my life had been burned down. Relationships, bridges have been burned down. I faced homelessness for second and even third time with my daughter as a baby. She wasn't even a toddler yet, and we had been homeless twice. And when I face those ashes, what I see after you are in the mud or the grit or the bottom, facing the disparity, facing everything, all of your lowest moments, what comes of that is your strength, and envisioning a phoenix rising out of the ash is really my memory of where everything began. And I'm going to go all the way back to 2019 from kind of like that spiral of the rock bottoms. And what I recognized in myself, like I said before, was this person that had no control over her actions, of what she said. And it scared me. It literally, was living out my worst nightmare. I was modeling and representing something that I feared as a child. I grew up in a household that used more screaming tones than pleasant talking tones. And the house was loud, and it wasn't even rambunctious. It was very reactive. And what I learned in that setting was that in order to survive, I needed to put up these walls, these protective walls, and to guard myself, to keep myself safe. to keep myself hidden, to keep myself small and quiet, unrecognizable, to avoid the hurt and the pain, to avoid the yelling, to avoid the verbal and emotional abuse. So these protective mechanisms and coping strategies that I developed as a kid were then carried into my adulthood. And in my 20s, I started to recognize these patterns. And when I became a mother in my late 20s, things started to surface and they were coming out loud, like they were in my face. And as serious as we take our roles as a parent, you are here today because you care so much. And I recognize that within you. And I appreciate that so much. And we care about our role so much. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves for it to be perfect, that we don't mess our children up, right? But what often happens is that trauma and those responses that carry from that trauma that we had, unresolved trauma, is what shows through in our behaviors as a parent. And instead of modeling this peaceful, calm, present adult and parent for our child, we are distracted, we are distraught, we are frustrated, we are aggravated, angry, resentful, hurtful, aggressive. We are all these things when we really want to be at peace, when we really want to be present parents and peaceful parents. So there's always a moment where we can decide we no longer want to be a certain way. And that first step, the recognition in that first step, is really powerful. And it's what's going to open up the doorways, because you will open up your vision of what you want. So what you may be desiring, and I want you to come into this moment and this slide with an intention of what you want to get out of this. So you can take from what I've placed here, or you can just really come from your own perspective and your heart of what you are desiring. You're desiring a peace of mind. And to come back to that peace of mind, anytime you feel like you're in an elevated state where your energy is maybe charged up and your heart rate is rising, that you can come back to that calm state. And you have that choice. Number two being a deeper, more genuine connection with yourself. So you have less loneliness or isolation, or avoidance from your feelings. Number three, the power to make decisions that honor you, your whole body, your mind, body, and spirit, and really what matters most to you. Number four, being that you desire to consistently take care of yourself, your well-being. For a long time, I had so much focus on what I ate and how I moved, which is wonderful. And I developed a whole book of knowledge on what to do and what I can do, and to see what I'm capable and how I can challenge myself. But I was avoiding an entire part of my being, my emotional well-being, my spirituality. Okay, so we as a whole being encompass all of these parts of ourselves. So you may be doing really well in one or two of those areas, but it's about bringing it full circle and bringing it all together. And that wholeness, that oneness, so you're operating from that place of wholeness, will show you, will reflect on the outside, and you will be able to hold your peace. And number five, going from complaining to feeling immense gratitude and genuine happiness, regardless of what's happening on the outside of you, regardless of your external circumstances, regardless of whatever stressful event or events are happening in your life, that you can hold, or you can come back to. You can hold that gratitude and you come back to a level of contentment. It is not just about being happy, happy, happy all the time. That is not realistic. But to be able to feel your feelings and let them roll through you, we'll come back to that, is something that's really, really important and powerful. So continue on. I think to be a little bit more specific is revealing what your story is. I'm going to just take a moment. I can't see any comments coming through, which is unfortunate, but I'm going to just close out of that for a second. And I'm having some difficulty right now, and I apologize. All right, so we're not going to do that, but that's okay. I thought I could expand this view. All right, we're going to go back to the slideshow. So revealing your story. I want you to think about a time, and the more specific you are, the more powerful this is going to be. So when was there a time recently you can picture those parts of it, the events, the circumstances, and kind of storyline or timeline of things that led up to it, and things that happen afterwards. When do you wish you could have kept your cool better? It could have been this morning. It could have been this weekend. It could have been something that was really recent. Okay, I'm going to bring up a story of getting my child to bed. This has been something that I've had to work on, and I have to continue myself. It's not always perfect, but there's times when I can feel like I am letting go of the restraint that I have and my ability to choose in the moment how I want to respond. And one of those was recently, my daughter had gone up for bed. We did our nightly routine. I was getting things taken care of. My nightly routine is kind of an unwind, relax, clean up, get things done, little putzing around, but it's really what I consider my time, me time. I try not to work if I can't, if I don't have to. And for some reason that night, I felt like she was disrupting my time. And this can often come up for mothers, is that your time, like your kid is a disruption to whatever you're doing. So in that moment that I was in the bathroom getting ready for bed, she came down the stairs and stood at the end of the stairs instead of coming into the bathroom. She's been potty trained for almost 2 years now. She just stood there and said, "Mommy, I'm peeing." And she just peed. And I could feel that tension, the tightness rise up in me, and I could feel my muscles tighten on me. And I just picked her up and I brought her. There were no words, but body language, I mean, I felt it, and I know she felt it. So my body language was very tight and restrictive, and even aggressive and upset and disappointed. And she could feel all that. And I just put her on the toilet, and I was pulling her pants down, getting all that pee out. I just rinsed it out in the sink, and I didn't really say anything to her. And I just said, I just remember walking her up to bed and just leaving it at that. And I didn't like how I acted. I didn't like how I reacted, and I could have kept my cool better. And I recognized that in myself, and I knew where it was coming from. So that is something that's really important, is you know where it's coming from, and you attend to those parts of yourself that are feeling rushed, or you feel like someone is taking time from you, especially your child. So what was specifically behind that emotion? Okay, so in my instance, what's behind the emotion is that I think there's something bigger than upset. Upset that my daughter, that I'm by myself and I'm doing it alone, and there's no one there to help me, and there's no one to stand in and walk her back to bed, that I always have to be the one to do the work, to be there for her. And that can be exhausting. So there was something that was, it could go deeper than just being upset. And that's something that you would open yourself up to discovering more of. Why do I always get upset when my child seems to be, quote unquote, interrupting me and needing something? What is further underneath that is when you are not meeting your own needs. And this just came to me. This is great when we say these things out loud. When you are not meeting your own needs and meeting your own standards of meeting your needs. Okay, because as you gain this level of newfound practice, your standards will be set higher, which is incredible. And you will recognize, just like you set your standard for drinking a certain amount of ounces, when you feel dehydrated, you know that you haven't met your standard of staying hydrated. And your body will send you that signal. So the signal comes through as an emotion of being upset. But really, what's to be recognized is that you are not meeting and fulfilling your needs to feel like your cup is full. Like everything inside of yourself is taken care of. And now you can take care of what this little person needs from you. And by little person, I mean all the way up until 17, maybe 18. Maybe 20. No, I'm just kidding. Your child, however old your child or children are. And part of your story is, how did you get there or here? Because we're talking in the present moment. And in this instance, how did I get here? How did I get to this point where I felt like my child is a disruption, and it upsets me, it angers me that I have to stop what I'm doing to do something for this person. And how did I get here? This underlying feeling that what I'm doing is not enough. So whatever I did during my day was not enough. It wasn't, I left it unfinished. There's more to do. There's more to do. There's more to do. Whatever I'm doing is not enough. So this is a disruption to the more I have to do. Okay. I think this quote is interesting, and I decided to put it here. If you know you can do better, then do better. And it's easier said than done. But why you are here is to discover what you can do to be better. You've already recognized that within yourself you can do better. And that is honorable. I respect that. I really do. And now it's the point where you start to begin to see how you can do better, how you can not only do better, but be better. And being better is by taking care of yourself. So I know we're running. I'm going to probably breeze through the last part. The last part will always be available for you. These are ways that you can start diving into your story. So I believe, and this is why I'm spending so much time on this, this is the most important part of it. The strategy, this is energy. So anytime you're doing something, what's behind that doing is about 80% of your energy, the why, so to speak, why you do things, why you show up, how you show up. But then 20% of it, it's going to be the strategy. So 20% of this conversation is going to be the strategy, and I will breeze through that. But again, you will have the link, you will have access to this replay, and you can go through the slides. But this is the most important part. So what version of your life are you living? Are you living someone else's life? And I say that specifically by, for the sole sake of saying that we have developed from the very beginning of when we developed language, we developed beliefs about our world, no matter how small or big it seemed, to beliefs about ourselves. And everything, as we began to learn language, we started to learn about the world and ourselves. So we developed things from a perspective from others, and not knowing really who we are or how to really trust ourselves, because we were always guided. We relied on this guidance. We relied on the people that were older and wiser and had more authority over us, the adults in our life, right? So we were kids and we listened to the adults. If an adult said this about how life should be, then we believed it. So one thing that I want you to pay attention to is the language that you use regarding supposed to and should. I should be further along. I should be making more money. I'm supposed to be married by now. I thought this one funny meme was appropriate. Life is not confusing when you are supposed to do this in the order in which, right? Fall in love, get married, have children, raise your children, watch your grandchildren grow up, and then die a horribly and painful death in your own pile of shit. And it is aggressive, but sometimes you can feel like you're following this order, you're following the path that you're supposed to take, and it doesn't feel right. It doesn't, or you hold judgment because you're not following that order or path. I have a child. I have not been married. I did graduate college. There's certain things that you can display in your life where you did something either on the grain or outside the grain. And what the point is right now and today and further in the future is to have reflection on what you want in your life. What are things that you really admire and cherish in life? What do you honor about life itself and you? These are questions that you should, these are questions that will take you further in your satisfaction and fulfillment in life. See, I had to watch how I use that word should. So one of the questions is coming back to your values. Now, values are strong, right? They hold such a significance in our life. The thing about values is you have to pay attention and be careful about where your value comes from. Do you value something because it's what you were told to value as a kid? And if you still value that today, if you really truly value that, that is perfectly fine. But if it's something that you no longer value, then you can change it. You have permission to change your mind. And then another thought to reflect on is, or question to ask yourself is, what is most meaningful to me? What do I get the most out of life from? Is it what I'm doing right now, or is it something different? Are you consciously deciding who you are, who you want to be? Coming back to these questions, these are journal prompts. These are things that you can come back to when you have more time to yourself in a quiet space. Dedicate 10-15 minutes to this and really sit in, like I said, in the values that are coming from, that are passed down in lines of generation because of your identity as an Italian or a Jew or a Muslim. It's okay to identify with them, the value systems. But if it doesn't feel true to you anymore, that is okay. Your values aren't going to they're not going to point you in the wrong direction unless they don't feel true to you. And that's what might be confusing. But I don't want you to feel confused. I want you to feel inspired. I want you to feel empowered. So one thing to note is that our minds do not like generalizations. We want to know all the details, right? We want to know specificity. We want to know all the specifics of what's entailed, all the steps. But here's the thing. Life is full of uncertainty. And the more we can embrace this and lean into this uncertainty, the more accepting we are the more in flow we are with our emotional state, the more we can let things go, the more we can be present and with ourselves and make empowered choices. All right, so our body already knows what is needed. All we have to do is start listening. And that is what tonight is all about, is discovering ways in which we can cultivate more love, forgiveness, connection, and freedom, and holding ourselves to the integrity of ourselves. So before we dive in, let's take a moment to get out of our head and into our heart. So sitting in a comfortable position, I'm gonna bring my spine a little bit taller. I'm going to either, I'm going to have, because I have a table in front of me, I'm going to just have my hands gently on the table with my palms facing up. You can put your hands in your laps. And I encourage you to close your eyes. If you don't feel safe to close your eyes during this, that is okay. All I want you to do is focus on my voice. Bring your attention to your breath and my voice. And we are going to bring ourselves into the present moment by focusing on our breath, coming in tune with our body and breath, and bringing our breath into we're going to bring it deeper. We're going to lengthen our breath. So let's do a couple deep breaths, and in through the nose for a 4 count, holding it at the top for 4 count, and letting it out for 5. Pull it in through the nose, 2, 3, 4, hold for 4, 3, 2, 1, let it out for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good, we're gonna do that 2 more times, breathing in through the nose, 2, 3, 4, holding for 4, 3, 2, 1, letting out for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bringing that energy and oxygen in through your nose, 2, 3, 4, holding at the top, 2, 3, 4, and gently letting out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. If you feel like you've dropped your shoulders, relax your body further. Allow yourself to sit in this space. And I want you to bring your attention, all your thoughts, into the present moment by allowing any worries, anything that hadn't been done or needs to get done afterwards, to drift away. And you're in your body, in this space, in this moment, breathing, feeling relaxed. And I want you to think of that intention that you set in the beginning, discussing why you're here and what you want to get out of this. Bring your attention to that intention of what you want to come back to, knowing that you have access to this inside of you at any point. And part of the discovery is letting those guards down, letting that restriction down, letting go of the shields that are there to keep you safe. Acknowledging within yourself that you feel safe in this moment in your body. Thanking yourself for showing up today and being curious and courageous to do something differently. You can go ahead and put a hand on your heart and breathe deeply in through the nose as far as you can, feeling that energy brought into your heart and letting it out nice and slowly. Very good. Notice the sensations that you feel in your body as you hold your attention on your breath, on this present moment, and on that intention for this evening. And go ahead and start to wiggle your fingertips, your toes, roll your shoulders, your neck, and open your eyes nice and slowly to come back into this present moment. And we're going to start by leading with love. Love is a language. Love comes through in words and body expressions and beliefs. What you believe to be true about yourself is the most important establishment. And this is why I start with this. This is why it's number one. This is why it will be the first thing that you intertwine into a practice, or an existing practice or a new practice, is paying attention to how you use your word in your mind to yourself, the language that you use towards yourself, and what you say to your child. Words matter. Words have and hold significant power. And like I said in my example of me not saying anything to my daughter when she started to just pee on the floor, our body language, our body expresses this this language of our emotional state. And if we are in the state of love, when we are in the state of calm and peace and serenity, when we are in the state of forgiveness, it will be shown through our expression, through our body language. Okay, so this is most important thing to start with and come back to. The power of the heart. The heart is naturally calm and peaceful, clear and strong, and the qualities of the deepest level of your consciousness. The closer your connection with your essence, the more loving you will become, and the more enjoyment you will derive from everything you encounter on your path. So know that your power lies in your heart. And when you feel like you've lost power, you've lost your power, your control, know that you've come out of your heart. And most likely you are in your head, and you just need to come back to your heart, which is exactly what we did to start this, is that moment of silence, to release everything that's going on in your head, the chaos, to be calmed, you to return back home to your heart. So step one is an appreciation and acceptance. Accepting and appreciating, much like gratitude, you show and tell yourself that you appreciate everything that you are, all that you possess, the good and the bad, the light and the dark. These polarities are something to be embraced. Okay, so one thing that is very helpful is cultivating a language of and. I am both this and that. I am both gentle and strong. Okay, it's not secluding you into this box or frame where you can't be opposites. You can't exist in opposites. You are light and dark. So embrace that. Okay, step number two is opening up your heart and calming the body. Okay, I might repeat that myself many times, but these are all things that we have to come back to in our practice or evolve in our practice. And reminding yourself that your heart is yours. It belongs to you. You have access to it at any and every moment. Okay, so to be able to comfort it, to warm it, to soothe it, to show it love, to acknowledge it, and to stretch it will be everything that you need to keep your peace. All right, step three is a process to enter this heart connection. Okay, like I said, you can come back to this, but it's just like we did to get into this. Like before we dive in, it's a little bit of a moment, a quiet, comfortable position to come into your breath, to soften your belly, expand your chest and your breath, to sit with yourself, to sit with feelings, I love to use visualization techniques, visualizing a landscape, a setting, a moment in time, memory that you hold as blissful, as peaceful, as joyful. Anything that you are desiring to come into or come back to is something that you would like to visualize. And you can expand on your imagination. This is something that we don't often tap into as adults. But using this time to come into your heart and to visualize using your imagination is a version of exploration and play. Okay, it's not, and which provides us peace and tranquility and being able to embody this state of calm. Some things that help are reciting words so you don't get distracted and pulled away. It's okay to have outside thoughts, but you want to let them go and come back to these words: ease, peace, safe, calm, still, full. Those are very helpful. So the second way to keep your peace is to spend time with yourself. Spending time with yourself, taking care of wounds, on a date, and understand them better, understand yourself better, right? Date yourself is something that you can do single or not single, partnered or not partnered. Your relationship with yourself, a deeper connection with yourself, will transform the relationship with others. Okay, and as soon as you acknowledge that, the sooner you will dive into it, and the sooner you will feel that unfold into the outer world. And all the work that you do on the inside will unfold on the outside. Okay. Your healing lays in how honest you can be with yourself. That's amazing. Not right now, honey. I'm so sorry. I have about 10 more minutes. I'm not going to get up. I understand. I understand. I'm just going to continue, and I have about 10 more minutes. You are okay? Thank you, Harper, for understanding. Okay, so step one in spending time with yourself is to set time aside to reflect daily. This doesn't have to be, now order and routine is great, rituals are great, journaling is great, 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, whatever that is, whatever you can give. But honestly, reflecting in your car on your way home from work, or after you pick up your kids from school, counts. It all counts. So make time for to have a point in your day, or multiple times in a day. Set a time that time for yourself to reflect on how you're feeling. This is something that is a part of my routine, and I don't do it daily, but I do it as often as I can, is personal tapping. Okay, and what I do is I check in with myself. I look myself in the mirror and I say, how am I feeling? How are you feeling? How do you want to feel? What is going well? What is going wrong? And absolutely, what feels like it's standing in the way or holding you back? Step number 2 is honoring your needs. And going through, like I said, you can be honoring yourself in some areas and ignoring others. And there's seasons where some things are going to be prioritized over others, and that's okay. But always be always be adaptable and flexible and open to improving on an area, and recognizing if one area is lacking, is it adding to a level of frustration? Is it kind of dismantling my emotional state because this need is not being met? I'll be the first to admit that my sexual needs are not always met, and that can come through in how I'm reacting to situations. So that's physical, that's sexual, that's mental, emotional, and spiritual. Okay. So having a daily check-in or weekly check-in at minimum is really helpful. Step number 3 is disconnect. Spending time with yourself means that you are getting away from the chaos, the distractions, the overstimulation, and taking a moment to just connect with yourself. All right, step 4 comes back to gratitude. It's important to notice the energy shift when you either write or say aloud what you are grateful for. Okay, this is a promise to you that you will feel the shift, the energetic shift in your body immediately when you show or feel or write gratitude. All right, number 3, and the third way to keep your peace is to drop the judgment. The most important freedom is freedom from your own judgment. We are often our worst judgers, our hardest judgers, our worst critics. Okay, so self-judgment is one of the things to drop. All right, but we also want to drop judgment on others. All right. Why are you so hard on yourself? Is one thing to ask yourself. There's could be many reasons, and I wrote down a bunch of them. And I said this in part of my story, is it's a way to survive in an environment where you didn't feel safe to be yourself. You were mocked, made fun of, emotionally abused, not supported, neglected, rejected. It helps you make decisions that are keeping you safe. Okay, so this is coming from a point of place from your ego as a protector, as a protection mechanism. You are hard on yourself because you want what others have. You feel like you're lacking. You're lacking in something that you want, and therefore you're going to judge yourself and maybe judge or criticize others. Okay, you could feel scared, intimidated, or jealous of what someone has, someone is, or of something. All right, you're hard on yourself because you're insecure. And this is why your connection with self, your loving connection with yourself is super important to raise the value you feel for yourself and your self-worth is going to have those insecurities wipe away, drift away, drop off, however you want to describe it. Okay. Another reason is you may have been shown love by your parents in a tough love kind of way. All right. Or that you only receive their approval and love and or support through achieving something. So you had to do something in order to receive their love and support. So you're so hard on yourself because if you're not achieving, you lose meaning, you lose value, you lose significance. All right, and this is really hard. I know this, and only our efforts that produced a result. Okay, so this comes back to that validation or the achievement, and that needs that part of ourselves that felt like we were only accepted based on our achievement needs extra love. Okay. So step 1 of dropping the judgment is focusing on your life and your zone. You're in you're wearing your own shoes, and the other people are wearing the shoes and they've worn them. Okay, so that's theirs. It's important to remember that we are limited in our understanding of one another, of each other's lives, and it only ranges from our own experience. Each and every one of us have had a different experience in life. So ask yourself, what lens am I looking through today? Is it really small, or am I allowing myself to zoom out and see it from multiple perspectives? The other part is being curious. So Brene Brown says, society is quick to evaluate, criticize, and place labels on people. Instead of trying to diagnose who we think people are, let's actually communicate with them, ask questions, be curious. And this goes, just like I said, it's not just about dropping judgment about others, dropping judgment, self-judgment. So ask yourself these questions. Have open lines of communication with yourself. Be curious about how you're feeling. instead of shutting down and trying to avoid how you're feeling, suppressing it. That tough love that you might have experienced in your childhood or from your athletic coach is something that's showing through and coming through in your parenting. There's no blame or judgment towards that. But step 3 is clearing the fog. Again, coming back to these labels and beliefs about other people and or ourselves is you have may heard this your entire life. You've been labeled as someone that's always late. You're labeled as someone who's lazy if you don't do this. You're lazy if you're fat. You're a liar. You always lie. You're feeling like you're not enough because maybe you have been fired from a job, and that one firing has then led you to judge yourself that you are not enough. You're not valuable or significant to hold that job. You put so much importance on that job and that title that now you feel less significant. So dropping the judgment is clearing out that fog and being really clear, so that communication, the reflection that you're having is going to give you a more clear understanding of your foundation, not the beliefs and stories that come from other people. The 4th step is to stop blaming. Inside of judgment often lies blame. So what is something that you're holding onto from the past? Do you blame yourself? Do you blame someone else? Coming back to this energy, right? Energy and strategies, coming back into how you feel when you're blaming yourself or someone else, or even feeling regret or guilt. What are those emotions? What kind of energy does that emotion bring? Does it feel good? All right, so always reminding yourself that you can go back to your desired energy state. Give yourself permission to feel that and recognize that it's in your hands. It's in your choice to go back to your desired energy state of peace, of calm, of forgiveness, of love, of connection. And coming back to the lens, being the observer, right? This is often when we're in a stressful moment, it feels like we're just in that moment itself. We are totally zoned in on what's happening, what's not happening in that moment, everything that's going wrong, right? But if we're evaluating, evaluations are typically on judgments, while an observation is based on objective senses. Do you know what someone else is thinking, feeling? What they're displaying could be misrepresented. Also recognize that judgments lie in a belief system, and we talked about this earlier. So being able to come back to your body and let your body be your guide and listening to it. Be the observer of these messages that are coming through your body. The more you become aware of these, the more you can press pause in the moment. Like I was saying in the story of my daughter peeing on the floor, I could feel the tightness in my muscles. I could feel that tightness in my chest. I had that ability in the moment to recognize that feeling as something that I didn't want to feel, and that I had a choice to just breathe, come back into my body, and know what would be best for me in that situation, and not just me, but whoever else is involved in the situation. I don't think anyone feels good when they judge or criticize. It carries a negative charge. You can feel in your body, like when you're criticizing someone or when you're complaining and you're judging people, judging a situation, You can feel it. Your tone gets elevated. You may speak faster, although speaking faster is also in line with passionate too. But you feel like this restrictiveness or this tightness. Your shoulders get higher. There's more heat in your body. Everything as an elevated state. So in order to come back to your desired energy state, which would be where you set your intention today, which is a state of calm, of cool, connectedness, love, gratitude, admiration, all of these things that you want to feel more of, is a switch in your energy. There's a fly. My daughter's trying to catch a fly. Okay, so there's an exercise that I'd like you to come back to. Again, you have this replay, so you can come back to this exercise, but it's really powerful to understand where your language is coming from, right? We talked about this in your first step, and the first way to keep your peace as a parent is to lead with love, and love is a language, right? So recognizing the language and the words you use about yourself is powerful. So something I want you to, and you can think of something that you say often to yourself. You catch yourself in this negative spiral about how you think about yourself. I'm so stupid. I'm so pathetic. I'm lazy. I'm not enough. I can never get motivated. Every time I try something, I fail at it. There's no point. I have no discipline. There's so many negative thoughts that can come in and spiral. Notice that you're holding judgment. And how can you come in to this situation inside of your mind and to reframe, be an observer, and step back and question it? Is this true? Do I accept this? Does this feel loving and supportive? When I say these words, do I feel love and supportive? If the answer is no, how can I reframe it? So, sorry. So clearly state what you see as an observer from the situation. Use different words to describe. I can't get motivated. Allow yourself to address the problems that you see. I put priorities of others in front of myself, but now is the time to put myself first. That's a beautiful reframe, right? Again, expressing your feelings rather than your thoughts. So I feel this way instead of I am so stupid. I feel stupid when I make this decision or when I ignore this problem. And then reframing it into a situation of empowerment. How can I feel and think about myself? How can I embody the person that I want to show up as? I'm going to breeze through this one because really I've been saying this often. Again, there's so much overlap. But the fourth way to keep your peace as a parent is to allow yourself to acknowledge and feel your emotions. All right, we expect our children, or sometimes the expectation is for our child to get over something really quickly. I heard this as a child so much, and it's why I felt so reserved and hesitant to feel my feelings fully. And why I suppressed and avoided them for so long was that I was labeled as a crybaby. Stop crying, get over yourself. And it's still used as from my mother to my daughter today. All right, so acknowledge that these feelings need to be felt often, and sometimes how we express them is, can we do it in a safe way? Can we do it? And there's so many different ways that we can express ourselves through in healthy ways. We can express ourselves in music, in dance, in writing, in play. So find ways to show self-expression in healthy ways, but to be able to feel your emotions so you're not avoiding them and getting them stuck. So the first step is being still. And we talked about this prior, is not, filling up your time with all these distractions or always wanting and needing to be productive, to If you're not thinking about planning, you're planning about thinking. If you're not taking up all this time with mental activity or physical activity, then you're not doing things right, or you're failing yourself or others. You're a disappointment, you're lazy. You might just start judging yourself, right? To be still, you may find that you judge yourself for being still. Letting yourself feel your emotions in the stillness, in the silence, I was going to say in silenceness. Those periods, those waiting periods often give you the most clarity in how you can show up with your best self, the actions you can take, the energy that you need to move forward. So it's really about stepping away from those distractions by disrupting the pattern, noticing where those disruptions take place. For me, it's in the evening. In the evening, I want to distract myself from not feeling certain things. And I have to find ways to disrupt it. So notice your pattern and take steps to go through that. Step number 2 is let them flow, right? Anytime that there's a difference between allowing emotions to flow through you and keeping them stuck and stagnant. If I avoid them, then they are resolved. If I don't witness them or see them, they don't exist. Painful emotions. Our bodies want to be safe. We keep ourselves safe and comfortable. That is the objective. That is the monkey brain, the protective brain. Emotions are sending you information about what matters to you. So acknowledge them, witness them, and thank them. If you're avoiding them, you're afraid of them. And being afraid doesn't allow you to move forward. Being afraid keeps you stuck. So that stuck energy of pain will often show through in a matter that has nothing to do with the event that's happening in front of you. So you getting your child out the door on a timely basis and them not listening to you is not directly coming from that situation. Could be coming from the fact that you've avoided this pain of someone upsetting you or disappointing you, or the argument that you had with your parent or sibling or friend. That not being felt when you needed to feel it is now coming up in a different situation. So be open and stay open to allowing emotions to flow. 2 questions to ask yourself is, what happens when I attach to an emotion? What happens in your body, the physical sensations, the thought patterns that come after attaching to emotion. An emotion like depression. Feeling depressed can consume your entire body. I know this from multiple experiences of going through depressive cycles and seasons. So when you attach to it and you hold on to it really tightly, you don't let it flow, there's things that happen in your body that you don't want, you don't desire. And not only are you affected, but other people around you are affected. And what happens when you shut hard or negative emotions out? Like anger, sadness, regret, shame. I used an example, but this is for you to answer on your own. Recognize if there's a pattern that exists. Do I try to shut out and avoid these things? And how is that working for me? A time for you to be honest and reflect. Oh, I didn't label that. Step number 3, respect your body. Coming from step or way number 1, honoring your needs also requires you to respect what your body is telling or showing you. So when you're hungry, you may choose to eat. When you're sad, you may choose to walk, write, cry. Respecting what your body needs and how it's sending you through these messages is important. So do I want to move past this or hold on to it? Again, thinking back to, if I hold on to this, How does it set me up for success in my future? How does it set me up for the energy that I desire to do things that I'm passionate about in life? To have deep, meaningful connections with people? Does it allow me to be present, to be connected with the most meaningful people in my life? And then if I dismiss this feeling, will it really go away? Those are very similar to the previous questions, but just in a little different way. Will it go away? And number 5, this is like the be all, again, because we were talking about acknowledging, allowing yourself to feel emotions, to honor your needs. And it comes down to, so every topic, lesson, reason, way, whatever language you want to use, that have led to number 5, is it all presence embodies every one of those. So that everything that we've spoken about thus far has led you to this. Adopt the pace of nature. Her secret is patience. So practicing patience and presence is very important in keeping your peace as a parent. And again, this is a practice. This is a practice. So the most important thing is to recognize that it's a practice. It's going to take time, and you're going to have slip-ups. So respect that, honor that, and have grace with yourself as you develop your practice. So step number 1 is it's setting the intention. Setting the intention to practice your patience. Setting your intention to come back to your body, come back to your heart, and listen to what it's saying to you. Setting your intention in a restful state where you are aware of who you are and what you want. And setting the intention is also being able to release these expectations for it to be perfect. So like I said, being patient with the practice of presence is very important. Step 2 is slowing down. Just like disconnecting from distractions and coming and connecting with yourself further, this takes slowing down. So practicing your patience is a matter of slowing down. Constantly wanting to be busy keeps you in sometimes a frantic and elevated state. An elevated state can also be related to having passion and enthusiasm, but oftentimes it can it can consume us and get distracted from really how being the observer in the situation, and then sometimes leading to being highly reactive. I said it, acting too quickly, being reactive or impulsive. Yes, it's on the counter. Thanks, hon. Allowing yourself time to process thoughts and emotions. In the moment where my child is peeing on the floor and saying I'm peeing instead of coming to the toilet to use the bathroom, did I take a moment to think about what was going on and how I was emotionally reacting to the situation, listening to my body? So the slower your movements are, the more you allow your body to stay in a calm and relaxed state. 3 is letting go. Practicing your patience is really an art of listening to your body, and art is expressive. So we know that as a human, we are expressive people. We hold and we pass all these emotions in our body every day, so many of them. You're never one emotion for a very long stretch of time. You're just flowing through them. So it's important to let go of the need to know it all right now. Let go of the need to be perfect. Let go of your desire to control situations and relationships. Let go of all what you cannot understand, and lean into the uncertainty. Embrace that part of life and let go. Let yourself trust, and that all will be well. letting go is something that may pose a big challenge if you are someone who really wants to have control all the time. But knowing that trying to control the situations and other people, especially when you're dealing with a relationship of you and a child, where there might be some power struggle, where your word is not being listened to, let go of the judgment. Let yourself trust that what is being said is being heard. Whether or not they're responding to it is not up to you, really. I mean, and how you react is something that you can control. So coming back into your choice and your power and your ability. So you have the ability to let go and choose, let go of your frustrations, let go of the control, let go of the perfectionism, and come from a place of acceptance, forgiveness, grace, and patience. All right. I had a lot to say, I know, and I went through that really quickly. The strategy part, like I said, you can always come back to this, but it's really important to understand energetically where you are and how you want to show up. So knowing your story is very important. Are you ready to put these into practice? It's always one thing to hear the advice, the suggestions, and the tips, and it's another to apply it. So when you're talking about holding on to these emotions, holding on to these stories or beliefs, it's not just as easily as flipping a light switch. You will constantly have these aha moments. This conversation itself was here to serve as a way to signal thoughts in your brain to question. Questioning is a good thing. Over questioning or overthinking can pose as a problem, but questioning where things come from, how things are working out for you, if you, well, you're here because you do want better, how you can do better, how you can show up to be a better person, to be more present, to be more loving and forgiving. So applying it is a whole nother thing. So what are you ready to do immediately? We went through all those 5 ways in order to keep your peace as a parent. And I said in the beginning that there was a specific order to that. So what do you feel really good about in your practice currently? Maybe you're starting from scratch. Maybe so much of this is foreign and new to you that you feel like you're starting from scratch. Start with number 1, right? Number 1 will lead into number 2, 2 will lead into 3, and so forth. So establish something right now in this moment. What are you open, ready, and willing to do differently to disrupt the cycle? Disrupting the cycle of avoidance, disrupting the cycle of believing something about yourself that's not true, disrupting the cycle of always shoulding on yourself. I'm supposed to be this, I expect to be better, I should be doing this, and having some more patience and grace in this process. What do I need more of, and what do I need to do and to be immediately? What can I commit to? So one thing that you can commit to is being in a community of support, where I will be leading a 6-week Peace and Power for Moms program, so that you can start to release these pressures and the frustrations, the overwhelm, and really lean into your peace, your power, and your power to choose. So this begins next week. Doors are open currently, and they will close this Sunday. So there's a few days for you to get signed up. I want to thank you for coming. And importantly, it's important to thank yourself for showing up, because showing up means that you are ready for something different. You came here for a reason. We started off this conversation why you're here to begin with. And coming here today was saying to yourself, that you're open to doing something differently. You're open to discovering whatever needs to be discovered so that you can show up to be a more peaceful and present parent. So this process takes courage, it takes strength, and it takes power. And I fully support it. I've gone through it. I'm going through it. I will go through it continuously. And I know that every bit of it is worth it. Every part of this healing journey is worth it. And we all need a loving practice in our life to be more deeply connected with ourselves, to fill ourselves up, to meet our needs so that that fullness can just pour over into others, right? Taking care of everybody else and not ourselves leaves us feeling empty, distracted, distant, unfulfilled. So to feel that joy and peace of mind inside of yourself, to always be able to come back to your heart, to come back to love, is capable when you start this practice. Starting this practice with your foot on the gas. Because there will be times where you feel like some things are being dealt with or handled or healed, and you start to pull back. This is the whole point of having community support, or having some type of support in your life to have you on track. Because as soon as something feels like it's been resolved, another thing will surface. And as soon as you lose sight and connection with your practice, with yourself, you will start to feel like you're slipping. And things will show through. Messages will come up to say, you're disconnected. Come back. All right. So I thank you. And I am cheering you all on. If you have any questions, I will be sending some follow-up emails. You'll get an email regarding this recording, and so that you can come back to it anytime. If you have any questions, if you want to have, oh my goodness, a baby. Oh, you look at a baby, you have to smile. So cute. Getting the wiggles, little like, hey, let's move around. Yeah, totally. I get that. So you'll hear from me by this evening. You'll get the replay on email, but I'm here for any conversations, any connection that you want. I have my Harmony Within group that I have Tapping Tuesdays and lots of events, communication, giveaways going on each month. So there's tons of ways to have access to me, to gain extra support from myself and a community, and to realize that you're not in this alone as a parent. So the journey is not meant to be alone. And I thank each one of you for showing up. And I'll leave you with this quote: the most common way people give up their power is by thinking that they don't have any. So remind yourself that you always possess power. It always lies within you, and you always have access to it. The power to choose how you want to feel, the power to choose to be present in this moment. And sometimes that power exists by simply tapping into your breath. All right. I thank you so much for joining me this evening, and we'll speak soon.